Hey, it's Lawrence Mack from Remax Realtron, real estate broker, here with Brian Madigan, real estate broker and lawyer at Remax West. How are you doing, Brian?
I'm doing very well.
Excellent. Today we're here to talk about joint tenancy and tenancy in common. So Brian, can you explain tenancy in common?
Yes, certainly tenancy in common is the default position for two parties to own real estate. And so each of the two parties, in most cases, would own 50% interest, but it could actually be 90-10. They can bring in other people, and the arrangements can be as they might apportion them appropriately. If someone were to pass away, then their share automatically goes to their own estate. It has nothing to do with the other people that have participated with them in the business venture. In any situation, if it's unclear whether what the arrangements would happen to be with more than one person, the default position imposed by the courts is tenancy in common.
So for instance, if you and I went to go buy a piece of property, it would be maybe 50-50, and then if something happened to, say, for myself, it would go towards my wife or my kids or that kind of thing,
your wife
and that part is separate.
It. Yes, exactly.
And then how is that different than joint tenancy?
Joint tenancy is a little different, and that's an arrangement which they often refer to as the poor man's will. And it's used commonly between husband and wife, where there's an automatic transfer upon death to the surviving person. Mm-hmm. So the surviving joint tenant. But there's a couple of obligations. One is that you have to receive your interest in the same instrument or document. So it has to be basically the transfer or the deed that would convey the property to you, but it has to convey it to both people at the same time. The next thing is that the shares have to be absolutely equal. So if there's two people, the interests are 50-50. If there were three, a third, and so on. If one person dies, then their share goes to the other's proportion in their appropriate proportions. Usually it's husband and wife, so we have a 50-50 transfer, which is reciprocal, and that's the arrangement that's in place. The big advantage to it is that there's no necessity to pay what might commonly be referred to as probate fees, although specifically there has not been anything which is probate fees for years in Ontario, but there are fees that arise by reason of transferring property. Those would amount to 1.5% of the value, or in an example, if we were to look at $1 million property, that would be $15,000. Strong advantage to it is if the property is registered in as tenants in common, that amount is payable to the province of Ontario. If it's registered as joint tenancy, then that fee is never paid.
Oh. So the main advantage, again, is during death or whatever, all of my shares or all of my portion is automatically transferred to you, which again would be weird for your friends, but if we're husband and wife, that would make sense. So
the odd time there's two people who might be participating in an investment property, and where it's a clear business relationship as opposed to a family, there would be reciprocal insurance policies. So my wife or your wife, rather than be involved in the business venture, would much prefer the receipt of a policy of insurance, which was equal to the amount of the real estate interest.
Sounds good. Anything else you can add about joint tenancy?
I think that's pretty well it.
Excellent. Well, if you need any help with real estate expert witness testimony, you can talk to Brian Madigan.